What's up, everybody? Welcome to the podcast. Now, I'm Alex. In this video, I want to talk about E3 being in serious danger of being canceled. Now, I have to dance around the word, okay? I cannot say the word, and that's why the title is even worded in the way that it is without actually saying the thing that's basically going around the world right now. So, unless you live underneath a rock, I think you understand what that thing is. So, we all know, okay? There's not going to be a keyword for it. That's just going to be the central idea of it. And you see all of these things being canceled really across the world more and more now as this thing escalates. And it really has, in terms of a gaming perspective, because we don't want to be super serious, very or fear monger stuff like that on this channel. But at the same time, there are ramifications for the gaming industry, for the movie industry that we've already been seeing with the James Bond film, with lots of different films, mainly in their filming schedule, like when they're actually filming it. But this could definitely lead to some big things happening in the future. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about how it could affect the PS5. But today, E3. So E3 has already been, and I guess in our opinion, but I think really a vast majority of the gaming world does believe this. E3 has been dying out severely over the last couple of years. Now, many people would maybe look to that as a negative thing, and I understand it. I was a big E3 guy myself for years and years. I used to invite Tyler and Nick, and when Tyler moved to Vegas, I would just invite Nick. We would watch E3 every single year. We would stay up late. We would just watch everything that was announced. We even did it before we had this channel. And then when we had this channel, E3 has been a really big part of this channel over the past several years. So I'm a fan of it. I'm a fan of like the workload it brings, of like the fun. You know, if you're like a gaming journalist, you're going there, you're staying up for like 72 hours straight. You're writing like 500 articles, all that kind of stuff. And it's definitely its own challenges for sure in that sphere. But even here on YouTube, or even a smaller channel like us, we still have a lot of fun and really enjoy our time with E3. But again, you know, yes, viewership is kind of up, or amount of people going is up, but that's because they open it up to just anybody that can now come, or you can go on the show floor and play the games, which is new over the last couple of years. But E3 has definitely been faltering. Last year there was the whole thing with like leaking everybody's like private stuff. Again, I don't know which words I'm allowed to say with that, so I'll just stop there, right? So there's been some pretty bad things around E3 over the last couple of years, and now we have this thing this year, and word on the street in the gaming industry is like, yeah, they're seriously considering that this may be something that they want to eliminate and not happen. And I would understand it. I wouldn't say it's the craziest thing in the world. It is already not in the greatest area when it comes to like what's going on. That is an area that's kind of been hit. I'm sure will be hit even harder over the coming weeks and months. So it's not hard to imagine that that's something that they're looking at. And to be honest, here's the positive part, because I know a lot of that's maybe doom and gloom, like, oh, E3's canceled. E3 would honestly be replaced by something so much better. Nintendo, Sony over the past couple of years, they are ahead of the curve, especially Nintendo, right? Pulling out so many years ago. And at the time, it was kind of like, well, you could kind of look at it as like a weak move, right? Like they're playing from behind, and they really just do so bad that they can't maybe they can't afford it, or they don't have the resource. I mean, you could have looked at it like that, but really, I mean, Nintendo doing that was one of the better decisions they've ever made, because that led to Nintendo Directs, that led to Sony basically copying them and also pulling out of all these conferences and doing State of Play. So really, Nintendo set the bar, and they got a lot of heat for it in the beginning, even from gaming in general, right? Because from a larger gaming perspective, like the Expo and just like anything that has to do with games, they don't really look to those things very lightly. Kind of like, are you like self-sabotaging this kind of stuff? So I mean, they do get hate, and they do kind of get that kind of stuff by doing it, but they have led the way. And so what I'm basically trying to say is all this kind of stuff leads to actually a better time overall, because you have Nintendo doing their Nintendo Directs, you have Sony doing their State of Play, and in a lot of ways, they're bigger, more fun, they're easier to put on from them, and you can do them more often than you could ever do with E3. So yeah, E3 is that time where we all come together, and all the publishers, all the developers come together, and they all announce their new stuff. There's loads of news, but it's more, and Sony has, they've come out, like Sean Layden even has come out in the past past and said, like, it's like a tech thing. It's for like the big tech companies. It's for all like the business insiders. Like, it's more of that kind of stuff, and it's becoming more for that kind of stuff than it is for actual gamers. It's more for like the big tech websites to like see how the gaming industry is doing, see where they're innovating and stuff like that. And while, yeah, that's important to some degree, it really isn't. It actually really isn't, and they could do without it. A State of Play, Sony State of Play, they do 4 of those in a year, say. Let's just pretend, right? It's probably altogether doing much, much more than an E3 could have done. Now, yeah, again, like all eyes are on E3 because of that. But as we slowly get away from the whole, okay, let's all focus on a 3-day stretch, and then we really have nothing until Gamescom. But then, like, that's really a mixed bag, and that's kind of like the leftover E3 stuff, right? If we kind of get away from that mindset and get more towards, look, if you have something to do a live show from your own company, and don't even leave. Even like a Dead by Daylight, right? They've even done that in the past. Like, for every year anniversary, they have just a small little thing in their, like, in like a, I don't even know where it is. It could be in their lunchroom for all we know, right? But it's like a small stage. They have their workers sitting there. Their president or like their head of the development team is there, and they go over a couple things. And it's like an hour long. They have their community managers there. And it's like a fun little thing, and that's just from one small developer of one game of Dead. I mean, yes, they make more, but they're known for Dead by Daylight. So you have all that. I mean, that's a really good idea. Well, what I've been talking about a lot on this channel, right, is Warner Bros. Warner Bros. Seems to have a lot that's going to happen this year, and so yes, they are confirmed to going to E3, but say there is no E3. I mean, imagine a Warner Bros. Live show, having their own, like, okay, Sony has State of Play, Nintendo has Nintendo Direct. Imagine a Warner Bros. Thing, and in it they announced the Rocksteady game, they announced the Warner Bros. Montreal game, they announced the Monolith game, they announced the Superman game, they announced a Harry Potter game. They can go on and on. These are all massive things, and yes, again, yeah, they could have been at E3. 2 of those games could have been on Microsoft's floor or conference, and Warner Bros. Could have their own smaller thing and announce the rest. Yeah, that could have happened, but like in this way, you announce a show. It could be literally whenever you want. It could be late June. It could be in July. It could be in. It doesn't have to be that like June. I don't know. Normally rests in like the 5 to 10 day range of June. Like June, it's normally like June 5th to 7th or like 6th to 9th, in that range. It doesn't have to be there. It doesn't have to be there, and it can be more than one a year. I love the way now Sony's kind of faltered with their State of Plays. They haven't always, they have been good, recently, but in all, I would say they're very up and down. I think they need to get a little bit more steady where, like, okay, they're very consistent. They're every couple months they show, but I like the general idea where it's like, okay, it's not always going to be the big guns, right? Yes, we may have The Last of Us being like the main thing we show, or Ghost of Tsushima being the main thing we show, but it's kind of just to give you an update on like what's going on. Like, here's some smaller games that maybe don't get a lot of attention, and at E3 they absolutely would not get any attention whatsoever. But because we do these every couple months, we're able to show it. I mean, that premise, I love that premise. And again, if you have something as like a headliner, then you have it. Or even, again, like Nintendo's done, right? They have a Nintendo Direct for Animal Crossing. They have a Nintendo Direct for whatever, you know what I mean? Like some big, or Pokemon. They had multiple of Pokemon ones, right? So if you have something big, so Sony with Ghost of Tsushima, have a State of Play for Ghost of Tsushima in late April and just have it be like 15 minutes, have different people from Sucker Punch, right? They're asking, maybe that you can ask questions and they read it to them. I mean, the potential, and that's just one game, and that's just Sony, right? And again, I gave examples for like Dead by Daylight, Warner Bros. Microsoft could start doing it. I mean, it really leads to a better, so I understand like half this video isn't even talking about E3, but this is really where I think the future is going. And yes, what's going on in the world that's, could potentially lead E3 to be canceled. I mean, that's terrible, right? And that overall we need to get rid of. But not necessarily like it's a blessing in disguise. I don't want to say it like that. But E3 has long been going down. There's really no other way of saying it. I really don't think there's a way of defending E3 and saying, no, it's better than ever. It's never, honestly, like it's just going up, up, and up. It's really not. It's been on like the defense of itself. It's never been on the attack. It's been defending itself for years, and it's constantly been going down and down, and it's losing people, or companies. I mean, like companies aren't willing to go there. They don't want to because, again, they all know. They really, all of them know. They're able to get their message out. And even if you look at, well, let me finish that sentence. They're able to get their message out their own way. They don't need E3 to do it, right? We talk about Batman so much on the channel. What's one of the things I say? They don't need a convention. With the internet as big as it is, a lot of these companies and a lot of these properties, they don't need the help of a major stage to show it. They can just do a press release. They can just do their own trailer, and all these websites will pick up on it. YouTube will pick up on it and be huge. Look at that Samurai Jack game that was announced like 2 weeks ago. Super, super small. Came out of literally nowhere. I mean, yes, it is based off like a licensed thing, so it's got a little bit of backing, but came out of nowhere. I'm sure it did amazing. In fact, I know it did amazing. It was the talk of the gaming world for that entire day. Really, for like a week, people were talking about that game. That game is going to do well. Trust me, that game is going to do well. Do they need E3? No. If they went to E3, would they have been forgotten about? Absolutely. And yet, because of the way the world is now, they were able to slide it in. So things like that can happen more. People don't, they can just do it their own way. And so, yes, it may take something like this to knock E3 completely out, but it's honestly for the best. It honestly is. And to move into a future where we can just have a state of play every 2 months. We can have a Microsoft gathering, whatever they want to call it, right? Every couple months, Nintendo Direct, Warner Bros., Ubisoft, EA. And that's another thing is even the studios that go there, you could argue, like, are they just going there because they're under contract? Like, literally, Bethesda, the last couple years, did they need to be at E3? Absolutely not. Did they have enough to fill an hour-long show at E3? No. They had enough to fill 5-10-minute show at E3, but not an hour. So why do they even go? Even EA is kind of pulled out, right? They do, like, the EA Play. They don't really have the show. Ubisoft, they have pretty solid E3s, but even them, it's like half is filled with good stuff. Half is just like, okay, you're going to have this pop star sing, and you're going to do this Just Dance thing. And it's like, okay, you're clearly just trying to buy time because you don't have enough things to fill it, so you're trying to, just like skip ahead. So, I mean, it really, again, the writing is on the wall for E3. It sucks what's going on. I think it is in very serious danger of being canceled. I honestly feel like it could be canceled, and probably, I feel like if I had to make a prediction, I feel like E3 will be canceled this year. I really do. But again, it's fine. And I think people would worry, but I really don't think you should, because then we'll just have a lot of live shows, a lot of online things. These companies can still throw these events, and honestly, they will be better than anything we'll get at E3 because they'll be organized. We'll know when they are. They'll be able to if they want to make it 5 minutes or a 10-minute show, they can make it that, and they can announce their 2 games that they have to announce, and they can be done, and it's super easy, right? Barely an inconvenience. It'll be like that, and you'll be able to get it out of the way, and again, it'll be better than E3 could ever have been. So, guys, let me know in the comments below. What do you think? Is E3 in danger? Do you think it'll end up being canceled? What do you think about like my idea or where I see the gaming industry going in the future? I think it's true, but you guys definitely let me know in the comments. Make sure you guys are subscribed to our YouTube channel, Podcast Now. Hit that bell icon so you guys know when these videos go up. And thank you, as always, for watching. I greatly appreciate it, and I hope to see you all on the next video.